Hello, everyone. Hey, if you didn't know, we have some permanently installed sensors out at ARDEC South. And I wanted to run through some of this data on this platform with you and show you what has happened since March when we put these sensors in the ground. So let's just dive right into it and see what we can learn. So right out of the gate, you'll when you open up the platform, if you're using Grow Guru for your soil water management, you should be able to open up to this site right here, and it'll show you where the sensors are on the map itself. You can actually open by clicking one of these if you so desire, or on the left hand side, if you have more than one sensor, you could see the status of all your sensors on the left hand side of the screen. So there's a couple of things I'll show you right away. When you open up the little drop down here, there's a drop down the very left hand side of the page. That opens up to show us where our sensor is and what percentage of moisture we have at each layer in the sensor. And this is actually a manually set up process, and it will remain manual for a couple more years as we're continuing to learn and to grow in the soil types. And then we're going to automate this. We're going to automate it for every single season, because the cool thing about a permanently installed probe is the calibration no longer is an issue because it doesn't move. It goes in, stays in, completely eliminates calibration issues. So we can fully automate these sensors as we move forward in time. So we're also going to be building a plant model that fits on here and a root zone model that is developed to work exactly in alignment with where you're drawing water and your total water volume, total water content in the soil profile at any given time. That will give you the ability to see how deep your roots are really going, which is one of the things that's being found out now in research, is the deeper the roots, the bigger the fruits. So we're learning more and more about this process all the time. You're also going to be able to see with a deeper root system how to increase hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen in the upper profile. We'll discuss more of that in some of the later training, probably off season. So that's what you can see here and what you can expect as we develop the platform moving forward. If you look at the red and the green, green simply means that we're okay. Everything is in the go status. And right now that would say we don't necessarily need to irrigate. We don't need more water at this level of the root zone. However, in the alfalfa under the wheel line, you can see that we're a little bit drier. It's red. Now, I think some of that may simply need to be adjusted. It's the first time that we've had these sensors out here. We may want to adjust those parameters a little bit as we move forward. That's something I'm going to have David do, and then David can do a training video on that for you guys in the future. But what I'm going to show you is the value of the permanent set system as we look at the cornfield, as we look at the linear system. I really want to show you guys what the value is in a permanently installed sensor. Now, this is the first year, so we don't have all the data, but we do have good data that we want to look at. Every season, we also have a template. That's what you're seeing here is a template. And the whole idea is to build the template to the crop so that we can create a crop water demand, a crop water system, if you will, for the cycle of that crop, from the time that it emerges to the time it pollinates to the time it matures and then dies off. So that's the element of a template. This is a very basic template. Again, when we're working in different soil types and different conditions, environmental conditions, these templates are made so you can customize them to your area. That's an extremely important element. So you want to be able to look at your templates and make several decisions in a quick hurry. By the way, this is also available on the app. If you're using the app, you can see the same thing. One of the things I learned about the app is this is mobile friendly. So it's a mobile friendly website. So even if you use a browser on your phone, it works really well. And that's actually something that I do because there's actually more features on the browser than there is on the app. The app is very nice, it's very basic, it's very to the point. But if you really want to dive in and look at features, you can use your mobile device on a browser and it works really, really nice. Now, a couple of things I'll point out. First of all, we're looking at a 30-day view. So in the last 30 days, we've drawn down a substantial amount of water out of the profile. And it shows that we've actually stalled out here a little bit. I'll probably show you why here in a little bit. And you want to remember that our first sensor is actually 14 inches below that root zone. And that's okay. As we continue to educate on permanent sensors, you'll learn why that's actually a high value. So another thing I'll point out on the template is this dotted blue line down here at the bottom. That's forecasted rainfall. Now, it's a forecast. We don't know how accurate it's going to be, but we're creating models in the back end of this, working with weather data. We can also bring in the rainfall data that's already existing. Now, again, that's extremely valuable. We want to make sure that we're seeing that good information, that we're able to track what is rain events versus irrigation events. We want to be able to see just how critical the rain was to our crop production. So that's why we're tracking this information. So let's take a look now on the right-hand side, and you can see there's different viewpoints, different periods in time. Now remember that this platform is designed for long-term data. The sensors themselves will be guaranteed for 5 years. We're actually going into our fifth season with over 45% battery life on most of our below ground elements. So we're actually going to be able to get more than 5 years out of this, but we don't know for sure. So we're going to guarantee our systems underground for 5 years. So a few things on the time period is, you can look at a day, a week, 3 months, 6 months, a year, but you can also set a custom time. That custom time will be very nice as you're looking further into the future. You could go back 3, 4, 5 years and look at all of your data for the entire 365 days. That's going to be your freeze and thaw. That's going to be temperatures. It's going to be, there's so many things that you can learn when your probes are permanently installed for the long period of time. And that's why we put that custom dab in there. For right now, though, since we set these up in March, I'm just going to set it to 6 months. And we're going to go back and look at our 6 months worth of data. And that's what we have coming in here. So you can see we put the sensor in here in March. I'm going to move this so that you guys can see the time down there at the bottom. You see we put it in here in March, and it looks like about March 26th is when that went in. And it dried down a little bit right after the install process, totally normal. And then it started to set in. The probe was starting to set in. We were getting a little rain. Those blue bars are rain events. And then over here, we had a big rain event, huge increase in moisture content down at the bottom, and just continued to increase, continued to grow, and continued to take us all the way up into where we were actually a little over full. So again, nice to be able to see that as we're in the July season, back here in that May, June timeframe when we're planting corn, we're trying to get things to go. I mean, a lot of stuff was happening, including increase in soil moisture content. So that's one thing that we can look at. Now I'm going to move this back down and get out of the way. There is also the ability to look at our individual sensor graphs, and that's what we're looking at here. So individual sensors with our rainfall, we can see how it impacted at each given time and see how it impacted the individual sensors. There's a couple of things that I'll point out here. You can see we have these two check boxes on. One is for the rainfall. I can shut those off. And one is for what is called relative. Relative is a tab that converts, if you will, uses a formula, and it will convert the information that we're looking at from raw data to an actual calibrated data to look at percentage of full at each different sensor level. If we shut relative off, then that will go back to what a lot of people, if you've used sensors for a while, it'll go back and look at the original raw data, and it'll show you what it would look like if you were looking just at the basic probe, just at its most rawest form, no formulas, no calculations in it at all. And that's part of what we want to look at on occasion. There's times that that's very, very important information, so you want to be able to go in and view that. So another thing that I'll show you is these plus and minus tabs. If I hit the plus tab one time, it will separate out my layers. But let's go back here a little bit and we'll touch base on that. This is simply showing us from wettest profile to driest profile if we don't make any adjustments in our stack graph. So what it's actually saying is at the 18-inch root zone right now, that's actually our wettest part of the profile. In other words, that's the area with the highest volume of total water. Now, it may not be all plant available, but that's the area that has the highest total volume of water. The next area is right here at 14 inches. You can see that was fairly wet at that level until we got to this breaking point right here. And that's when the 26-inch level was actually a little bit wetter than our 14 as our plant started to draw. These stair steps down, that draw down, that is the plant drawing water out of the root zone. The same is true up here. The plant is drawing water out of the root zone, so that 18-inch root zone is getting substantially drier as we move forward. And you can also see at this 10-inch, which is that red bar graph, or red line, sorry, that red line also started to draw in water as we would expect. That's 26 inches deep in the root zone. Now the orange line, that's this line here, that orange line has not drawn out any water yet. So we actually don't have roots at 34 inches. This is not a surprise to me as much rain as we had. In a drier year, those plants will be going deep for that water. You'll see a lot of times where you have 34, 40, 48-inch roots regularly in those drier years when the plants are really, really starting to go deep. So again, something that I would expect to see for the season that we're having. Now go back to hit this plus button again. This stacks the graph. That's our stack graph. It stacks the sensors from top down towards the bottom. Now you can see here, we still have our 18-inch sensor a little bit above. It's still a little bit wetter. If I click it one more time, now I'm just starting to spread things out. I'm forcing the graphs to reduce themselves and become a true stack graph where they're going to stack themselves. However, the more you click that button, you'll see that a lot of your definition goes away. And this is a challenge in data technology. And it's something that I know will continue to get better and better if you're used to looking at sensors. But this is about the view that I like to see because it shows me good definition all the way through the root zone. I can see where we've had high moisture increases, where we haven't. And it allows me to really dive in and start analyzing the root zone data at any given time. So again, just some really good information for us to dive in and look at and things that we can learn from. Now, again, if you want to see rain events that go along with this, here's the rain events that we had early season. This is what was really keeping us wet. This would have been about the 20th. So about the time that we were all at ARDEC, when we were out there for the field day, this is the rain that was taking place the night before the event. And it looks like there may have been a little bit of an event here just a couple of days ago. And that also is very, very small at this point. As we continue through time, that will continue to update. Now, the rain does go back and post calibrate. That is something that you want to think about. When you wake up in the morning, you look at the graph, it may not show you exactly what the rain total was. It may have to post calibrate. So this is information coming in from DTN. DTN will look at all that information after the rains completely stop. It goes back, looks at the total, looks at the overall values, and it will recalculate about twice a day. And if you look at it in the morning and then you go and look at it in the afternoon, it could be different after a rain event because it's recalculating information. So it may not be totally real time. Just watch out for that and use it accordingly. So again, that's the most of what I'm going to show you in here. There's one more thing I wanted to share with you, and then we'll call this a wrap. And that is our template. The template that is in the software is super easy to adjust. And again, I'm going to have David do a training on that because he's better at this than I am. The cool thing is, though, we are set up so we can adjust the templates at any given time based on what is happening with the environment. And we'll adjust it at each level of the root zone. So if things don't look right, if we are getting higher moisture contents than what we are seeing in the field, then we'll go in, we adjust to reality. I don't want to put a calibration tool in here. Calibration tool isn't necessary with a permanently installed probe because we're not pulling it in and out. We're not messing with calibrations. We're going to set it once, get the profile full. As we have big rain events, it's easy to set full profiles. It's easy to identify when you've hit that full point. And that's what we'll go in here and make adjustments with. And then year after year after year, you know exactly where you are. You know exactly where you want to go to start at any given point. You know what kind of moisture content you have going into the season. You know the impact of heavy irrigation. You know all this information that we've never been able to really see before. So that's really the gist of a permanent sensor. And that was what I wanted to share with you guys and just show you some of the real value of the platform. Now, there's a whole lot more that we can go in and look at. There's also things that are coming down the line on the pipeline, on the system that we're creating moving forward. There's going to be new features coming here that are going to be very valuable to you guys. Why? Because it's built for a permanently installed sensor. So there'll be features that are coming in for the off season, a few features coming in for the in-season irrigation elements, but all the features are being created for this 365 days worth of value of a permanently installed underground sensor. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. I hope this brought you some value. I hope you enjoyed this little tour, if you will, through the software. If you have any additional questions, reach out to me at Grow Guru, reach out to David Sloan, reach out to Amy or Tim. They'd be more than happy to get you some information or to get an answer for you if there's something that you're looking for. By all means, let's make this extremely valuable to you. The last thing I'll point out is these sensors are not being used for irrigation decisions. They are permanently installed to just show you guys the value of a permanent install moving forward. So this is something you'll be able to continue to see long after the competition is over. You'll be able to watch it all through the wintertime. You'll be able to really see what's happening in that field for the long term. All right, my friends, God bless. Make it awesome. And we'll see you on another video in the near future.